All right, let's go. All right. I want to talk about a Swede.
A Swede?
Yeah, Swede.
You know, we had 50 people download us just last week. So we have 50
all right then.
50 people in Sweden listen to us.
There's a book being written by a chap named Ulf. I don't know his last name. Sven Ulf. I don't know. Anyhow, he's writing a book on the very first Swede that came over. And his name was Tumba. And was he good? Holy smokes. He was and big guy too. They said he was about 6'2". He was about, if he wasn't 6'3" or 6'4". And he not only was he good in hockey, he was good in
golf. He was. Yeah,
you looked it up.
Yeah, he was like the champion in Swedish golf. He was a champion water skier. He was he played soccer. He led the Olympics in scoring in hockey one year.
And I shouldn't really like him because he was the first guy that came up with the helmet.
Yeah, he invented a hockey helmet. And so he came, because everybody kind of thinks that, like, from my kind of thing, I always thought Salming was the first guy to kind of come over. But he came over in 57.
Yeah, and I was at training camp with him, and he was dynamite. He didn't, and they offered him $50,000 to stay. That's how good he was.
So what training camp was that? What city?
Boston.
Oh, he's with Boston.
He was Boston, yeah. And they offered him $50,000 to stay, and he wouldn't stay. He wanted to play for Sweden.
Right. He because if he took the money, then he would be professional, and then back then the Olympics you couldn't be able to play.
So why did he come over in the first place?
I think he came over just to see what it was like.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't serious. He was having fun, and I think he knew he was just there to see how good he was and the whole day. And he was good, believe me.
Yeah, he scored a goal in an exhibition game, and then for some reason he played for the Quebec Aces in the American League and had 4 points in 5 games.
Well, they were jerking him around, and he went back to Sweden. But he wanted to play for Sweden, and he was famous in Sweden, which I think he made the right decision.
So, Dad, you're like a little fortune teller because how much, Cindy, have we talked about the gloves? Like for the past 3 weeks, we've talked about the gloves. Last week, Ryan O'Reilly gets hit in the glove, breaks his finger, and he's out.
And he'll be out a long time too,
4
and
to
they're
6 weeks.
Paying him pretty good dough.
Yeah,
he'll be ready for the playoffs.
So do you think, like, if he's out that long, he could still skate with it? Like, he was probably still skating.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
But does it take him a while to get back in the swing of things?
Yeah, there's a certain. I don't know what the word is, but there's a certain gait that even though you skate with the guys and everything, if you don't play, you miss that their play. I don't know what it is, but it's come.
Well, they didn't miss him last night. This is Sunday morning. Toronto beat Edmonton. I got to ask you though, Dad. Edmonton's up 3-1. Clicking along, and we won't name the defense because we don't want to embarrass him. He could have went up the boards, could have went around the net, could have carried the puck.
Could have kept it?
Could have kept it. Nope, he puts it right on Mitch Marner's stick.
And he was the only guy in there.
Right in front of the net.
Mitch Marner.
Of all guys.
Now, as you as a coach, if the guy comes back to the bench, would you say anything to him, or he knows that he did the wrong thing? What would you do?
I can't remember.
Well, I remember one time that we've talked about this before, that you went and got mad at a guy, was Dallas Smith. We were in Detroit.
I didn't count him.
Yeah, we were in Detroit, for people that didn't know, and the Bruins were up like 3-2 with about 20 seconds left in the game, and he iced the puck. And
he was. But what got me was, but the whole thing, he was a foot from the red line. Like back in those days, it was icing the puck.
So he was a foot from the red line, iced the puck, face off in our end, back to Mickey Redmond, tore the back of the net up, tied it up 3-3.
No way, Cheevers. I'm glad Cheevers didn't stop that one. He might have been hurt.
And then I think you got a little, like, you went in after.
So I went in. It was in the Olympic Gardens, and I went in, and everybody knew I was. And I just, tell me why. Why would you ice the puck when you're only a foot away? You know what he said? Shep hollered for the puck. Shep hollered for the puck, and you were a foot away. You know.
So he threw Greg Shepard under the bus.
I had to get out of the room, or I would have killed him.
So did they put the camera on the bench to see what the coach would say to that kid?
I don't know if they were.
But a funny thing, they're up 3-1 going along, and then 3 minutes later they're down 4-3.
Yeah, and boy, went ping, bing, bing, bing.
Yeah,
it just changed the whole. And you know, the Leafs could have been had last night. They were 3-1, and it was everything was just going along smooth, and this guy. And there wasn't a guy around him. Put it right on his stick. And boy, what a goal.
I know. Of all the guys to give it to.
Yeah, but what a goal that was.
Yeah.
Hey, I hear they caught the guy that stole his car.
Yeah.
Remember that was a big deal?
Well, people who don't know, listen to the States. Mitch Marner, he was carjacked this summer in Toronto.
I was surprised what kind of car he was driving.
What was he driving?
He was driving a Range Rover. I thought he'd be have a sports car, and all this, and I'm thinking a Range Rover. Yeah, all right. So they stole it, and he finally got it back.
And they caught. That was about almost not a year ago.
How did they catch him?
I don't know. Well, they caught these guys who are carjacking people, and then they said, "Who have you caught? Like, what are the cars?" And I guess they found the car. And
I don't know if I'd want the car back again.
I know.
Yeah. So, but
anyhow.
Didn't bother him last night. Score today, school.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not knocking guys on the Sportsnet or anything like that, but I got to say, I almost fell off the couch laughing. So before the game, they decided to interview Austin Matthews, and I could see Matthews probably being a little bit annoyed.
He was a little. He didn't want to go.
He didn't want to go on. But they kept talking about McDavid, so I'm sure he's sick of talking about McDavid, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, you and McDavid. So he goes on, and he's not the greatest interview to begin with. And the guy, I forget who it was, said, "So what's going through your mind right now before the big game?" And you could see Matthews kind of look going, like, what do you mean? And you can see his mind racing. I got to come up with an answer.
And you got to come up with an answer.
Well, nothing really. I just, get my stick, tape my stick, and get hydrated. And
he looked at the guy.
What do you want me to say?
What do you want? I know what he wanted him to say. That he's got to get ready for. Because,
for McDavid, right? Yeah, and he didn't want to, he was just kind of looking like, this is, we're in the middle, we're in the second spot. This game doesn't really mean a lot and the whole deal, but I thought that was pretty funny. But Dad, I got to ask you, you've always talked about the gloves and stuff like that. And again, Ryan O'Reilly, he's out 6 weeks with a broken finger. Now, there was an incident when you were playing in, I guess it was Rochester, you were playing Quebec.
I was playing for
and
Rochester.
A guy had, the big gloves back then, but it didn't help him, and that was...
It was Doug Harvey, and Doug Harvey was fantastic.
So he was playing in the Quebec Aces.
And what he was doing playing in the Quebec Aces is beyond me. Well, yeah, Joe Crozier said, well, there's no way we're winning the championship as long as Doug Harvey's playing for that team. He went out in the third period, broke his hand. Litzenberger was the guy when they went.
No matter what kind of glove he had on.
Oh,
he wasn't really a tough guy, Eddie Litzenberger,
either.
He was sort of a gentle giant, wasn't he?
I don't know. Maybe it was an accident. I don't know. We never asked.
It was coincidence.
It sounds like something you might do.
No, I never. No, not with my stick. I never ever did anything like that.
And then you broke his hand, and he was out. And then did you guys win?
Oh yeah, we won. We won. The last 5 years I played for 4 championships and 1 final.
Wow.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, very good.
I should have told you that before. You think?
So why, like everybody, I didn't see him play, but like when they talk about great defensemen, his name always kind of goes up there. What was he doing in the American League?
Figure this out. They won the Stanley Cup, Montreal Canadiens, and he played for them. I think he won 7 Norris trophies.
Yeah, he's won a whole bunch of Norris trophies.
Norris trophy. He made the All-Star 13 times in a row, and they got rid of him because, you know why he got rid of him? Because he was the type of guy that wanted the minor leaguers and everybody in hockey be treated right. And back then they were not treated right. The owners did what they wanted to do, They just
so they just banished him to the American League.
Well, they put him to the American League, and first of all, they traded him to New York Rangers, and they made the playoffs for the first time in about 6 years. They made the playoffs. They offered him $30,000. $30,000. He would have been the top guy paid. He turned it down, and he was a strange guy.
So this was way before the Players Association.
Yeah, well, that's what he was trying to do, get the Players Association.
He needed Brian Kilrea then go against Eddie Shore.
Brian Kilrea was the guy that started really started the. Nobody knows that.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
He was, and then he got a bad back, and he wrote the Players Association. They didn't answer him.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was the guy.
You should tell the story what happened there, because you were there. You saw it all with Shore.
Well, we'll tell that next week for sure, because we'll get all the information right and stuff like that. So here's the thing, though, Dad. Like you and I were talking about it. So because you said back in the NHL there was 6 teams and they only carried 5 defensemen, right? 5
defensemen.
So there was
4 played, and the other guy spelled them off.
So there was 30 defensemen in the NHL, and there was same in the American Hockey League. So there was a total of 60 defensemen in the top 2 leagues right now.
And that was the American Hockey League, too.
Right now. In the American Hockey League and the NHL, there's 576 defensemen. Because they carry 9 defensemen. Like I checked the Leafs.
Oh,
they dress 7 and they keep 2 up there. Yeah. So there's 570. So there's more defensemen in the NHL right now than there was total players in the American League and NHL when you played.
I know. We back in those days, the bosses run. How much money they must have been making back in those days. That
but Harvey, he went back though to St. Louis, right?
He was just as good as he was when he played for Montreal Canadiens.
So Cindy and Dad, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Spreads.ca. They're a Canadian-owned online casino and sportsbook, and if you sign up now and use the promo...
Boy, there's a lot of them out there now, Tim.
Yeah, I know. They're all over the place. If you use the promo GRAPES, they'll match your deposit up to $500. They give you 10 spins on the big wheel, and your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25. And, like, pretty much everything you see on there, you could do. Like, they have parlay bets where you can go on and bet... first goal, is Matthews going to score? Is he going to score in the first period or the second period?
What kind of bets do they call those again?
They call them prop bets. Prop bets. So you can bet that, and then they have parlay where you can bet 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 bets, prop bets, and then if they all come in, you get big odds and stuff like that. So Dad, I saw a funny video the other day. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was in the American Hockey League. A goal was scored. And the goalie was mad because it should have been goalie interference. And he took a drink of water. And when he was done, he threw his water bottle. And it hit the referee right in the back of the head. And I said, "Do you ever do anything like that?"
I did that in St. Louis. I never forgot that in St. Louis. I reached back. It was like on the ledge. And I thought it was a little bottle, And it was the big bottle. And I threw it. And it hit... I think it hit Brian Lewis. Remember the referee Brian Lewis?
Yeah.
Hit him on the shoulder, and I let on. I was talking to
Yeah, you were pretending you didn't throw it, right?
I didn't pretend I didn't throw it, and I looked around and about 5,000 people were pointing right straight at me.
Did you get a penalty?
Well, he couldn't prove that I threw it. He come over, don't do that again. I said I won't.
Well, wasn't there another incident of something being thrown at a referee? One of your favorite referees, I must say.
Yeah, that was a good one. I was coaching in Rochester, and it was jammed. And
as it always was in Rochester.
After a while, it was jammed.
And it's 2 levels, so it's it holds a lot of people.
Oh, it holds a lot of people. It was supposed to hold about 6,000, I think, and I think there was about 10,000 in the place. They sat on the stairs all the way down.
Well, until the one of the owners kicked the
one of the owners kicked the fire marshal out. And he
didn't like where he was sitting. Get these guys, get all the standing room out.
Yeah, and he says, "Is that right?" Eh? And then after that, so anyhow, I'm watching at the very top, and this guy threw an egg, and John McCauley was standing at the far end. I can still see it to this day. He was standing at the far end by the net, and I followed that egg all the way down and hit him right square. Oh, and I thought he was really mad at me. And I don't know why I thought he was mad at me, because, the crowd was, boy, that crowd.
Rochester crowd was pretty tough crowd.
They were a tough crowd. And he come over, and I thought, and he asked for a towel, and I said, oh, boy, I'm going to get it now. And he says, nice shot, eh? I thought that. I never forgot that. Nice shot.
What? One thing I remember, something like that, was when you were coaching high school hockey, and that was just starting where the players, I think Bobby Orr started flipping the puck to the linesman.
Well, he have it on a stick.
But they kind of flip it, right? So that is something. So the guys, they get the puck and they just kind of lately flip it, and the guys catch it. And one of our players, Eddie Scott,
I remember you
went to flip it at the referee who was going to get the puck. And he just smoked the puck and hit him right square between the eyes.
Cut him and everything. Yeah.
Remember how he fell? I was at the game. It was high school hockey. It was fun though. And he just completely out. He went down like a bullet.
Blood all over the place. Yeah. And then he came up, and didn't you think that you told him to do it or something like that?
He thought I said him to do it.
And he really felt bad.
Yeah, he
I didn't mean it. I was just trying to flip the puck, and then...
Yeah. That was the end of that one.
Yep. Okay, Dad, we're going to take some questions from our listeners. And this is Dave from Twitter. Do you remember ever giving a speech before a game to inspire the Bruins? And if you did, what did you say?
I didn't. I cannot remember one speech I ever gave before.
You know what? Like, I used to go into the dressing room before the game with you, and I don't ever remember you going in talking to the players before the game.
It's sort of hard to believe, Dad. And there was no music. It was quiet.
There was. I can't remember ever going in. I can't remember, but I remember one that was after a game.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I never forgot that one.
Against Montreal.
I remember we were down 2-0 against Montreal. In the semifinals.
Yeah.
And we're down 2-0, and it looked like 4 straight again. And I said, I am telling you guys, I can't do it as good as I did back in those days. I'm telling you guys, we will be back here for the 7th game. I don't know, and then you'll be on your own. I had too many men on the ice. But I am telling you, we will be back here for the 7th game. Anyhow, and by God, we were back for the 7th game. And I remember we were on the plane, and I said to the stewardess, I said, do you have those little glasses that look like champagne glass for a party and that? Yeah. I said, now break out the champagne and give everybody. And I said, I must have been nuts. Stand in the aisle. This is for the 7th game. We'll be back here. We'll be back here for the 7th game. So I remember speech after the game, but I don't remember any before. I'll tell you a guy that who really believed in speeches before was Punch Imlach, and Punch was really good. He was best coach I ever played for. I tell you, boy, he had everything going. First of all, he'd come in, he had $1,500 in one bottle, and he said, "This is what these guys are trying to take from you." $1,500.
Well, when you see the cash, all of a sudden it puts a different perspective on it, right?
You see all the cash. These guys are trying to take this from you. Oh yeah, and we were hard and
you were making $5,000 a year.
Yeah, making $4,500, I think, and then he'd have his spikes. He'd have his spikes, and he'd have a hammer, and we'd win the first period. Bang, and he'd bang in. They said, "All right, we got 2 more to go."
Like, where would he bang it into a table or something?
And probably on the. Now let me think. Where did he bang them in? He banged them in on the medicine. There was a medicine table, but it was flat.
And then he'd hammer it in, saying he won the first period.
And that's what he did.
So you see a guy like that has inspirational, comments before the game. And what did you do before the game? Like, didn't that inspire you? Like, you didn't watch the warm up even, right?
I didn't watch the warm up,
and you didn't give them speeches.
You know what I did? Cindy?
Yeah,
because when the guy's giving you have to give a warm up for me to get ready. I have to give if you can't be ready, if you need the coach to
inspire you, you figure.
But I remember that 7th game, boy.
Yeah, because I used to go in the dressing room beforehand. I remember, but like I do remember in Rochester. Before the game, there was that little stick room, like there was you walked
around the back,
the back, right? And then you'd be back there, and then I remember Battleship Kelly was there, and Rod Graham, and Zimmy wouldn't come in. Some of the players, and they would, and you guys were just kind of kibitzing. You guys were like, I don't remember you, Dad, doing it, but I remember when you and Harry were battling, and you were going in to play Pittsburgh. And for some reason, Harry came in and started to write the lineup.
I was teetering then. How about teetering then?
Yeah.
But I knew we'd be Pittsburgh.
Well, because one of those things, you always say somebody has somebody's number. Cheevers had Pittsburgh's number.
Yeah.
Remember, they poured 60 shots on him, and they couldn't get a pee by him. But I remember because there was a chalkboard or a whiteboard on the Bruins dressing room, and the only thing that was written is next practice time and when the bus left. That was it.
Get 6 sticks ready.
Yeah, that was it. And then Harry came in. I remember I was there and you told me to get out. And Harry was in there and he was writing the lineup.
What was that guy's name? I forgot his name. Anyhow, there was one guy that got a hat trick early on us, but he'd been sent down. And Harry had him on the board. And one of the guys went, and I went like that. And he said, this guy you have to watch.
And the guy wasn't even
he
playing.
He was in the minors. But anyhow, and I made a big mistake there. I made a lot of mistakes. I let the guys write on the board. Are you kidding? 3 straight.
4 straight. Yeah.
4 straight. And no problem at all. And Harry, I won't say the guy's name, come in. He was a squealer. And he saw all the stuff.
Yeah, I'll say it was when Tom Johnson came in, and then he saw it. And
he went right back up and told Harry. I knew I was fired. It didn't matter what I was, and I knew I was gone. But we beat them 3 straight. You know what I remember that game? I remember Schmatzy got into a fight with Dale Talon.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrecked his shoulder.
Yeah, right behind the net.
Yeah. And I remember that game.
Bobby Schmatz was throwing fights and
he was a pretty good fighter.
Was he? Oh.
Except once.
Yeah, they kept showing it over and over
again. Yeah. Anyhow, that was the time he got in a fight with Mario Trombley.
Right.
And Mario Trombley cut him and kept showing that over and over and over again, but they wouldn't show the Bouchard. Wouldn't show Bouchard and Jonathan fight. That's what got me.
Oh, that's when you ran back into the studio.
Yeah, I ran back. I must have been nuts in those days. I ran back and I went in the studio. Now
remember, folks, you're coaching on the bench and you run back in the Hockey Night in Canada.
It was just around the corner.
Studio.
In the Forum.
In the Forum.
Yeah.
And because they're not going to show the Bouchard fight, but yet they show
was that
poor
a big
Schmatzy.
thing in Boston? Remember that there?
Yeah, we told that. We thought it was a big Hockey Night in Canada conspiracy that they did show that a Montreal Canadian got beat up by a Bruin. They wouldn't show it.
Yeah.
And your buddy Ralph Malaby was the executive producer then saying, who is that guy?
Well, they knew who I was. And I ran back. Are you going to show that one? Are you going to show that? Oh, boy.
And Ralph said, shouldn't you be coaching?
Hey, shouldn't you be coaching on the bench? Never mind me coaching on the bench. The play was on. The play was on.
It's hard to believe, Dad.
I know. It's hard to believe. What a cuckoo I was.